6 years. 6 full years since this all got started. July 2018. Went for what I thought would be a routine surgery, have a couple of doctor appointments, take the week off, and then I would resume the following week. I had no clue and no idea what was about to happen. I was diagnosed with metastatic malignant melanoma. I was so scared and so freaked out that no, I didn't document it. I wasn't about sharing it, but I did have some really good note takers and some very good record keepers. So here we are, that 6-year anniversary, and I have about 6 weeks left until I hit my month 60 final and last clinical trial follow-up scan. I was initially diagnosed from stage 3 to stage 4. When that happened, a light switch went off like that. This cancer was so intensely aggressive that I knew I had to fight back as equally aggressive. Finally got into a clinical trial that saved my life, TIL therapy. When I went in to sign the consent for this trial, it was the last option that I had. To me, it was either, do I want to live or do I want to die? There was no choice. But if I was going out, I was going out swinging. And even if I didn't make it, I knew that my participation in this trial lead to helping others and be a part of something very historic. Well, thank God I lived. It eradicated my cancer. Those first 18 months until I got into that trial was a very intense period. And then even since then, it's been an intense period of time. What I want to do now is rewind a little bit and go through my entire history from the beginning and share it with everybody to kind of see how things happened in order that they happened, and share with you the information that I had and how I received it and the path that was followed in order to get to where I'm at. So just to kind of throw a few numbers at y'all, I did the following over the last 6 years. I've had 5 PET CT scans, 34 CT chest, abdomen, and pelvis CT scans, 15 CT scans of just the neck, 1 MRI of the abdomen and pelvis, 4 MRIs of just the hips, and 32 brain MRIs. All right, this doesn't include the multiple ultrasounds. I've had 3+ colonoscopies, multiple x-rays, and all the other miscellaneous blood lab draws that I could probably fill a pool with if you would have added up over the last 6 years. This alone is 91 scans. And before the end of August 2024, I will have 5 more additional scans. You know, they say hindsight is 20/20, and if you could go back and tell your previous self, give us some advice based upon what you know now, would it be any different? You know, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, and, you know, my time machine doesn't work. But knowing what I know now, I invite you to come along with me as everything happened in order, and we're going to go over my scan reports with images along with doctor notes and plus our personal notes, and kind of see how things evolved from where they're at then to where they're at now. I've spent the last month or so going through all of my information and all my documents and all my records, preparing everything so then I could properly piece together and put together this content and make these videos to show everybody exactly what happened. We can have some conversations, what it was like then, what may be different now. You know, are things still done the same now? What has evolved since then? At the end of the day, putting this out there, my whole hope is that somebody's watching this or listening, reading, and will get inspired, 1, to share, 2, to speak up, ask the questions. So many different lessons that you can learn from going through all this. Like I said, I didn't do any of this as it was going down, but, you know, better late than never. My story starts when I went in for a surgery on July 2nd, 2018, to investigate a lump in my right groin, which at first was thought to be a possible femoral hernia. The pathology report did show a flow interpretation that the findings reveal a population of cells that are CD56 positive. After the flow summary and a number of markers were performed, the final diagnosis was confirmed metastatic malignant melanoma. A number of immunostains performed results in the neoplastic cells, all positive for S100, SOX10, MART1, and HMB45. Immediately as I got this news, I made an appointment with my local oncologist. Here are some of the notes. History of present illness. Patient has an excisional biopsy and unfortunately found to have metastatic melanoma. The patient also saw the colorectal surgeon, and it was felt that the area in his anus is not hemorrhoids, but more like a mass with central black spot that may be consistent with a perianal melanoma. No weight loss, no headache, no chest pain, good appetite, good energy. Assessment plan. The patient is a pleasant male who is now found to have melanoma. It is very possible that he has perianal melanoma, which is extremely rare. I told that first we need to get a full body PET scan and blood work to evaluate the extent of the disease. I told him that if the PET scan is negative elsewhere, and if this is truly melanoma, then surgical decision needs to be made and he needs to have surgery followed by immunotherapy. Because perianal melanoma is pretty rare, I told him I want a second opinion and make sure that it is not something else. He also asked about a second opinion. I told him it is a good idea. I will refer him to MD Anderson for a second opinion just to make sure the diagnosis is correct. If this is a melanoma, he would need an expert in melanoma surgery, then followed by immunotherapy. If it turned out to be something else, such as squamous cell cancer, then the treatment would be completely different. Therefore, it is important to clarify the diagnosis for sure. At this moment, we have no reason to think that it is anything else besides melanoma as the pathology has indicated. I will get a PET scan and blood work and go from there, and he will make an appointment at MD Anderson. With such a rare diagnosis and sense of urgency, I was able to get in at 5:30 the next morning for a PET scan. July 11th, 2018, these are the results from my very first PET scan. Findings: in the head and neck, no abnormal FDG activity is identified. In the chest, no abnormal FDG activity is identified. Below the diaphragm, a small area straining in the right inguinal region, demonstrating moderate FDG activity with maximum SUV of 4.5, image 263, likely represents postoperative inflammation, although a component of residual tumor is not excluded. A focus of mild FDG uptake in the left gluteal musculature with a maximum SUV of 3.8, image 225, is intermediate, but may reflect recent trauma or infection. Uptake in the perineal region and along the surface of the deep gluteal cleft with a maximum SUV of 9.0, image 279, may reflect activity related to hemorrhoids. In the lower extremities, a focus of mild superficial FDG uptake in the lateral dorsal surface of the right hindfoot with a maximum SUV of 2.9, image 278, is intermediate. The distribution of tracer throughout the remainder of the imaged body is essentially unremarkable. Upon the results of the comprehensive metabolic panel for my blood labs, a few of my markers were a little bit high, but nothing too crazy. My glucose was 117, and my calcium was 10.2, and my LDH was well within range, but for the most part, everything looked good. Sense of urgency was in full effect, and I was not stopping. Next up was my brain MRI with and without contrast, done on July 12th, 2018. Findings from this scan was no abnormality, enhancing lesions are seen. The sulci and ventricles are age-appropriate in size and configuration. There is no evidence of acute intracranial hemorrhage, infarct, or abnormal extraaxial fluid collection. No increased susceptibility in seen to suggest the presence of residual blood products or other pathology. The midline and posterior fossa structures are unremarkable. Expected proximal flow voids of the major intracal vessels appear patent at the skull base. The globes and orbits are unremarkable. Paranasal sinuses and mastoid air cells are clear. Impression: no evidence of any acute intracal process of abnormality enhancing lesions suggested of intraocular metastasis, mild polypoid mucosal thickening within maxillary sinuses. I officially had cancer, and with that, I had the ball rolling. I had my initial consultation with the oncologist, lab work's done, full body PET CT, and a brain MRI. All put together, it was definitive, without a doubt, that what I thought was a hemorrhoid was not a hemorrhoid. It was the source of my cancer. Knowing only what I knew at the time, I wanted the cancer out. So I scheduled my surgery to have the mass on my rectum removed immediately. I was able to get in on July 16th, 2018, exactly 2 weeks from the day for my very first surgery. The pathology from that surgery came back as definitive melanoma. With all this new information in hand, I had my appointment set with the specialist at MD Anderson on July 25th. Up to that point, I now had 2 surgeries, had all the masses that I knew of removed from my body, had a PET CT, full body scan, brain MRI scan. Everything that came back on that looked like it was clear, no metastasis. Had an appointment with the dermatologist, first appointment with an oncologist. You know, it was very aggressive. Things were moving quickly. Now, at this first appointment down to see my specialist, we were told to plan to stay for a number of days. Was hoping to go through many tests, see as many doctors, surgeons, radiologists, whoever I needed to. I wanted to leave there with a game plan or get as much treatment that I could. I was so mad at myself for having procrastinated on what I thought was a hemorrhoid when it wasn't, that I wanted to make up for that time and be as aggressive as possible. Now, all of my family came with me down to MD Anderson for my first set of appointments. They're very supportive. Can't say enough about family and my caretakers, caregivers. I mean, they mean the world to me. And they were 100% there for everything I had to go through. Now, when we went down there, like I said, I had planned to stay for a number of days and do whatever I had to do, but we were only there for one night and went home the next day. I saw and met with my oncologist, and it was then at that appointment that he said that we wanted to get a multidisciplinary team that consisted of surgeons, radiologists, had a number of different scans. He basically gave us the whole layout and everything, but you know, you just can't snap your fingers and make it happen at the moment. We have to plan it out. Now, I already did have some other appointments set up for August 6th, you know, about a week and a half after this initial appointment, you know, but I did want to get this initial consult in first. It was at that appointment that he tells me what I have is stage 3, not stage 4. It is mucosal melanoma. It forms a mucous membrane that, I'm going to read some of these notes, you know, from here, does not originate from the skin. It is similar to melanoma from the skin because it has melanocytes, but it does not react the same. It originates on the rectum. There are new treatments available in melanoma. And remember, this is 2018. Started telling me about immunotherapy, said it stimulates the immune system to kill the melanoma. Sometimes works. Forever, stage 4 is the best way to combat it. And then there's also targeted therapy, you know, drugs that target more relevant for skin, but may be helpful in mucosal melanoma. We will test for the mutations. He told us about BRAF, c-KIT mutations. I may benefit from some of these treatments if I had these markers. When we asked about chemo, that, you know, it may work, but normally for mucosal melanoma, you know, it's respond, but it's never an end game. It's always a short game. He said that it was considered stage 3, not stage 4, as it was known to travel from its original site throughout my lymphatics, you know, but there is a high risk that the cancer cells could be in other parts of the body, but not noticeable at this point. Treatment may benefit, but not 100% that it will cure this. We'll see surgeons. I had scheduled for August 6th, radiologist appointments. They would probably most likely do radiology to the local area to decrease the risk of it coming back to that area. Does not necessarily eliminate the cancer completely. Also mentioned about immunotherapies. He said, you know, it prolongs survival, but for mucosal melanoma only has a 20% response rate. You know, immunotherapy being Keytruda with a chemotherapy called CVD would be up to 3 to 4 cycles. And then once every 3 weeks, for 3 to 4 weeks. It would be a short-term deal with the chemo, but he wanted originally long-term immunotherapy. Details and the side effects we discuss on future visits, but radiation was to be my next consult. Discussed with them where to move further. He wanted me to have my scans at MD Anderson. This first visit, a lot of information. We did record that appointment. I'll probably upload that and just have it as its own episode. That is about a 20-minute or so, maybe a little bit longer of an audio recording. Figure out how to add that, maybe put some pictures, but to add that to the end of this would have made just for a really long episode. I did have my initial consult, like I said, on July 25th of 2018. It started going over exactly how rare this was and how aggressive it was, and got everything lined up and put in order so we could head back down there on August 6th of 2018, in the plan to stay for as many days as we need to, do as many tests as we need to, see as many doctors as we need to. And so I'm going to be planning to put together that next episode. And so I want to thank everybody for watching, listening in. This is the first episode of going through my cancer journey. I got about 6 years to go through. And so just getting through about the first month, was step number one. Also to support, please comment, share, smash that like button. You can pick up a copy of my book, Killing Cancer with Tills, published by Mucosal Melanoma Survivor, LLC. That's me, on Amazon. There's a link in my link tree. It's on my website. You can get it in paperback. And once again, thank you for all your support. And, you don't know what you need to know until you need to know it. And you're only going to miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So sending love. Peace.